Hi everybody, welcome back. This is the 10th video in our series, and today we're going to have a look at some strumming, get the right hand working. Now I would encourage you to carry on learning the chord shapes in video 6 and the chord changes in video 8 I believe it was, and also the rapid changes in the last video, in video 9. But we're not actually going to change chords and strum at the same time. We're going to try and separate our hands, because really what we've got to do is do one hand at a time, get the chord shapes with this hand, get the rhythm patterns with that hand, and then we can put them both together later. And now ideally when we're practicing strumming patterns, it's a good idea to just lay our hands across the strings and just let them damp, and then we're not having chords ringing out at the same time. We don't have to worry about the chords. In this case, just to make it a little bit more interesting and sound a little bit better, we're going to use that chord shape that we used in the last video, in video 9. Now if you haven't seen that, I would have a look at it, but it was an E chord shape, so it looks a bit like this. It's a bit like an A minor. It's exactly the same shape, but it's all moved one string towards the bass end of the guitar, towards the thick string. So this finger goes from 2 to 3, and these two fingers go from 4 and 3 to 5 and 4. So now we've got an E chord and we can play all the strings, so we don't need to worry about trying to miss the bass string out. Now I would also encourage you to try using a very thin pick. Use your 38, because this will give you a lot of flexibility and it will stop you from tensing up and being afraid of catching the pick in the strings. If you don't know about picks, it was all in video 2. You need a selection, but for this particular exercise I'd recommend a thin one. By all means experiment and use what you find best. Okay, well let's go for the close-up. Now make sure you're sitting properly, of course, as in video 4. Get your guitar in tune, and then try this E chord. First finger, middle finger, third finger, as we said. Just strum down across all the strings. Now the way to hold your pick isn't, sticking out the end of your fingers, and it's all very delicate and it's a bit sort of feeble and floppy. What you need to do is make a fist and get the pick in there so that there's not much of it sticking out, just a little point out the end of your thumb, basically at the side of your thumb, and then you've really got good control over it. And it's not going to fly out your hands when you strum. And strumming, we said in a previous video when we were playing little riff lines, that we wanted to have our hand resting, the heel of our hand resting firmly on the guitar, preferably at the bridge, so that we could really pick the strings that we wanted to pick. When you're strumming, we want to have a different action altogether. Now, let me show you this. We don't want any part of our forearm or wrist or hand attached to the guitar. It's okay to have your elbow or your upper arm resting on the guitar to keep it in place, but then we want to swing from the elbow like this. Think of it, it's a pendulum motion, and it's a good idea to swing well beyond where the strings are. This is how you can keep a rhythm. If you play by twisting your wrist, it's very difficult to keep any sort of rhythm. Of course, there might be a little bit of wrist twist involved just to get the pick at the right angle to come back across the strings, but the main motion is a pendulum motion from the elbow, with the whole forearm swinging up and down. And it's keeping that rhythmic swing that produces a rhythm in the music. Okay, now there are a lot of different time signatures in music, but probably by far the most common one is 4/4, especially in popular music. 4 beats in the bar, and we've got to kind of get used to that. And the way we're going to get used to it is we're going to tap our foot. Now, you don't want to tap the foot. In my case, I'm resting my guitar on my right leg. I don't want to be tapping my right leg, or the guitar's going to be jumping up and down. I'm going to tap my other foot. Okay, so I'm actually lifting my heel up and down. You can tap with your toe if you wish, but you need to tap 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we need to keep tapping that first beat, second beat, third beat and fourth beat in the bar all the time while we're playing. Now also, when I'm playing my down beats, I'm not just going to play down and then down again. I'm going to get the swing going so that I hit it on the down beat, I swing back up, I don't catch the strings. So I'm going to get my foot tapping, get it swinging, and I'm going to do 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's 1 bar of music. Now I want to do 2 bars, so I'm going to do 4 twice. Again, I'm going to keep swinging, even though I'm not hitting the strings, I'm still swinging past them. So here we go, 2 bars, and get the foot tapping. I'm just doing it this way so you can see, and get the arms swinging. And when we're ready, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. So now we've played 2 bars of music. I would also say, notice that when I'm strumming, I'm going very fast across the strings. I'm not going, that's playing the notes you can hear individually. That's actually called an arpeggio, so there you go, very complicated. But it's just a musical term for playing a chord 1 string at a time. We want all the strings to ring out at the same time, so we want, you didn't hear any separation between them. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is say and between each of the beats. We'll just do the same thing, but we'll say and. So I'm getting my foot tapping in time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Getting my arms swinging. 1, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So now we're going to play a down strum on each of those beats and each of those ands. So we're going to play 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, but we're going to do it at the same speed, actually something like 50-60 beats a minute. If you've got a metronome, it's quite good for practicing at. Otherwise, just this sort of thing, not too fast. And we can play, get our foot tapping, and we're still just going to tap on the 1, 2, 3 and 4. We're not going to tap on the and. We're going to play 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. See, so the leg is still just going on the 1, 2, 3 and 4. So now you notice also that we're going to have to change the speed of our swing. So where we were going 1, 2, we're going to have to go 1 and 2 and twice as fast. And have to go up and down twice in the same time as we went up and down once before. So we'll just play like this. Again, get the foot tapping on the 1, 2, 3, 4. And so we've done 4 beats in a bar, and we've done 8 beats in a bar, and now we want to do 16 beats. Now we don't have to go completely crazy. We can still do our 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, but we catch the strings on the way back up instead of just coming up free. So instead of 1, 2, we're going to catch the strings on the way back. So if we want to play again on the 1, 2, 3 and 4, and we play. Now a good way to do this is to say 1 iana. So like this. 1 iana, 2 iana, 3 iana, 4 iana, 1 iana, 2 iana, 3 iana, 4 iana. And you could also emphasize the 1, 2, 3 and 4 when you tap your foot is a little bit harder so you know where you are. Just play slightly harder. Takes a bit of concentration, but you know, 1, 4, so you know whereabouts you are in that routine. Okay, so here comes the tricky bit. We've got to play 4 beats in a bar, 2 bars of that, 8 beats in a bar, 2 bars of that, and 16 beats in a bar, 2 bars of that. Then back to 8 beats in a bar, 2 bars of that, back to 4 beats in a bar, 2 bars of that, and we just finish with, because it sounds better, a kind of arpeggio on the E chord. So this takes a lot of concentration, but you know, strumming does take concentration. So it's a good practice. 4, Okay, well, a couple of more things to do, some more note learning, and then a couple of riffs, just to give you something, a little finger exercise that you can use for practice. Now, if you remember back to video 7, we were doing the notes on the bass string, and we did E, F, G, A, B, C, D, and back to E again. And we played them up and down and spoke them out. And that helps us learn the notes on the bass string. And then the last couple of videos we did the 5th string and the 4th string. So today we're going to have a look at the 3rd string. Now remember, your 3rd string is elephants and donkeys grow. It's a G. So the open string is G. We're at the end of our musical alphabet, so we go up 2 steps, 2 frets, 2 notes, 2 semitones, however you like to look at it. And we start the musical alphabet again at A, 2 to B, 1 to C. We always have to remember B to C is 1, 2 to D, 2 to E, 1 to F, and then 2 back to G again at the 12th fret, which is always the same as the open string. So we go up the string, we repeat those notes, and then we go back down again. We start at G, then we go down to F, then we 1 to E, 2 to D, 2 to C, 1 to B, 2 to A, and 2 back down to G again. If we go up and down 3 times without making a mistake, then that will begin to program itself into our brains. So then we'll know the notes on the 6th, 5th, 4th and 3rd string. We'll look at the 2nd string next time. Now, if you remember back to last time, we had a little bit of fun with a couple of riffs. We had Heard It Through the Grapevine and Smoke on the Water. They're kind of simplified things, but they're good finger exercises and a bit of fun to play. So we're going to do the same thing with a kind of theme from a K.T. Tunstall song. It's called Black Horse and the Cherry Tree, and it's got a little syncopated rhythm, which I'll show you in a moment. It's quite a good little finger exercise and gets you playing some rhythms too. Now, as always, you'll have to copy this down for yourself. We talked about how tab works in the last video, so I won't go through that again. You can check it out if you need to, but write this out on your own tab sheet so you remember it. Okay, so the way to do this is we just do it all on the bass string, and we play the open bass string. Then we want to play the 12th fret, which is actually the same note an octave higher, but we want to use our ring finger. And so it's a good idea to use 2 different fingers and not just to bounce up and down with 1 finger. So we play, then we drop down to the 10th fret and use your first finger for that, and then play that again, and then drop down. So open 12 12 10, open 12 12 10 12. Now there's a little syncopation here, which means you're playing between the beats or off the beat, if you like, and there's a little pause there, and that's what gives it its rhythm. So it's like this. There's a little pause there. Pause. Pause. Now she would put that on a looper pedal so that that just kept looping over as a kind of bass line, and then you could play whatever you want. Whenever you like, play over the top of it, and we'll need a looper pedal eventually. But just try it like that for now, plain and simple. It's quite good fun to play, and you know, we're picking, and I showed you how to pick and hold the pick tightly and keep the heel of your hand resting on the top of your guitar while you pick, so that it's not flopping about in the air. We went through all this last time when we looked at the riffs. Go and check it out if you don't understand what I'm saying there. And then we'll also have a look at this other riff, which is Seven Nation Army. Most people know this tune. It's not the whole thing, it's not even right. I've just simplified it on one string, but it'll do for the purposes of finger exercises and something to play. And I'll show you some of the more variations and complications that you could introduce if you wished. But again, copy this one down yourself onto a tab sheet. So the way it's written there on the bass string is we just take our first finger on the 5th fret and we play. Now we've got to play the 8th fret. It's a big stretch. I can actually stretch with my ring finger, but if you can't, then use your little finger. And so we're bringing our little finger into things. We haven't used this yet. So however's comfortable for you. So it's 5, 5, 8, 5. Then you can just drop down. You can use the same finger. 3, 1, open. Do that 3 times. And then we do so it's just basically going 1, 3, 1, and then open, as it shows you on the tab sheet there. That's about the simplest form you can do this in. Now you could actually do this on any string, doesn't really matter. We could pick the same frets but do it on the 5th string, for example. And if you know your notes, which we've been doing the notes on the bass string, you'll know that what we were playing was A, C, A, G, F, and E. Those are the actual notes on the bass string. You can look that up. So anywhere where there are those notes, we could play on the treble strings. We could play right up here. So it's A, C, A, G, F, E. It's the same notes, but they're higher up. And of course, we don't actually need to play all up and down one string, because once we get to the 5th fret on the bass string, we're playing an A note, which is the same as the 5th string played open. So we could play our A and our C on the 5th string instead of on the bass string. So now we keep our hand down in this little pocket down the bottom here, which is a lot easier than whizzing up and down the neck. So we could play A, that's open, open. 3rd fret is C, then the G. So I'm just using the 5th string, open, open, 3rd, open, bass string, 3rd, 1st. So I'm staying in this little pocket down here in the first 3 frets. Now we're not going to do this today, but if you're playing it properly, you probably want to play power chords. Let's say 2 notes at once or 3 notes at once, which would be... So it gives it a bit more oomph, and you could even play it in chords. So we'd play A, C, A, G, F, E. You want to play E minor, depends how you hear the thing. Now, we don't want to do any of that at the moment, it's a little bit advanced, but there is a turnaround which you can add on. I haven't written it on the tab, but after he's done all his, well, however you want to do it, after you've done that bit, then he plays a C note, which you can, if you know the notes on your bass string, you can play there. The 8th fret, and then he plays the 10th fret, which is actually a D note. And then he goes back to the riff again. So after you've finished the riff, power chords there, we can just play a single note and it starts again. And it finishes on the A when you want to finish. Or anyway, you can find an A note. Okay, well, I'm going to leave it there for today. It's 27 degrees outside, so I say that because you might be watching this in the middle of the winter, and at least you can remember that we did have a summer, even though it waited till September. But I've got to dash off. I need to find out who's been messing about with my anti-paranoia medication. See you guys.